Okay, we'll
Yes, yes.
okay. So today we'll begin with the first lecture. So this is the introduction uh, to the human body, a brief introduction to how the human body is made up of. Uh, so before we go to the actual details, we'll try to understand what exactly by the name of this course, anatomy, histology, embryology, what exactly it means. Okay, so we should know the details about these three terms called as anatomy, histology, and embryology. So, anatomy is the science that deals with the gross study of the human body structure. Okay, so anatomy is the study of the human structure, the body structure of the human. It not only the anatomy is not only dealing with the body structure of the human, but also of the animals and other living organisms. But here we'll deal only with the humans. Okay, here we'll study the anatomy, that is the body structure of the humans, especially as revealed by the dissection and separation of the parts. So when we dissect, when we go back to the labs, at that time we'll see each structure. So at that time we'll see the each dissection means cutting of the body. The dead bodies are cut and you can see the structures, that is called as dissection, and separation of the parts. So when we dissect and separate, how exactly it looks like. So that study of the human body structures, different structures like the heart, like the lungs, like the eyeballs, like the tongue, each and every structure in the body, when we study it detail, that is called as anatomy. Coming to the embryology, embryology means is a science concerned with the study of embryos. What do you mean by embryo? In vitro means, so whenever you study the development of the human body, human structure, that is the human uh, in the mother's womb, that study from the 0 day to up to the 9 months, when the baby is in the uterus of the mother, that study is called as the embryo. Okay, so the study of that embryo and the changes taking place, how a single cell structure becomes a fully fledged fetus, that study is called as embryology. So it is science concerned with the study of the embryos in utero and their stages of development. How every month, how every day, how every week, how the human body changes to develop into a fully formed human body. So that study of the embryos, development of embryo is called as embryology. Then the third term is histology. What do you mean by histology? It is nothing but the same anatomy of the human body, but microscopic. When we study the structure, different structures of the body, microscopic, which are very minute, which we cannot see by the naked eyes. So you have to use microscope. So when we study the human body, same on the human body, that when you study under the microscope, then it's called a histology. Histology is a science that deals with the microscopic study of the body structure of the humans, animals, and other living things. But we'll study only, we are confined to only humans. We'll not study the animals and other organisms. Okay. So this microscopic structure of the human body study, that is called as histology. Gross study, which gross means which you can see by with the naked eyes. Okay, that study of the human body is called as anatomy, and development of the this human in the inside the uterus, that is called as the embryology. Okay. Now we should know, before we study the human body itself, we should know the smallest structure of the human body, that is called as the cell. Cell is the structural and functional unit of the human body. So the study, the cell is the smallest structure, which is the structural and functional unit of the human body. The human body is made up of millions of cells. Okay, so millions of cells are forming the human body. So the smallest structure in the human body is the cell. So cell is called as the structural and functional unit of the human body.
Excuse me, doctor.
Yeah,
Can you record the lecture?
and recording. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
The tissue. What is a tissue then? So cell, we know this is the smallest structure which form the structural and functional unit of the human body. So what is tissue? Tissue is a group of cells, many cells which come together. So that forms a tissue. Tissue is a group of cells, but they should be similar in structure and function. So when the similar cells, group of cells, but with similar structure, they should all have same structure and same function. So when a group of cells with similar structure and function bound together, then it is called as tissue. If cells of different types come together, no, it is not called as tissue. So when a group of cells with similar structure and function, when they bound together, means come together, then it is called as tissue. There are four main basic tissues, four different types of tissues. Okay, so which are those? One is the epithelial tissue, the second is the connective tissue, the third is the muscular tissue, and the fourth is called as the nervous tissue. These are the four types of tissue which are present in the human body. So if you see any structure in the human body, it is made up of one or more of these tissues. Okay, the muscles in our body, they are made up of the muscular tissue. The brain, the spinal cord, the nerves are made up of the nervous tissue. Then the connective tissue is inside between the muscles and the skin. There is lot of connective tissue. Then epithelial tissue, that is the skin, and inside also there is lining membrane, that is called as epithelial tissue. So each of the human body is made up of one or more of these tissues. Okay, sometimes there can be two tissues together, sometimes three tissues. Okay, mainly these are the four types of tissue which are present in the body. Any part you see in the body, it is made up of either one or of more of these tissues. Now coming to the organ. So now we know the cell. When many cells with similar structure and function come together, then it's called as tissue. Then what is organ then? Organ is the larger functional unit composed of two or more tissues. As I said, when two or more tissues come together, they form something called as organ, like liver, like kidney, like the stomach. Any organ is made up of two or more of these tissues. When they come together, they form organ. So organ is the larger functional unit composed of two or more tissues. So cell is the smallest structure in the body. When a group of cells with similar structure and function come together, then it is called as tissue. When two or more tissues come together, then it forms organ. Now we have to go to the next stage, that is called as system. So what is the system? System is formed of several organs. So when many organs come together, working together with interrelated function, then it is called as system. Like one of the example is the gastrointestinal system, GIT, or it is also called as the gut or the alimentary canal. There are different names. Okay, so the stomach belongs to this GIT. Stomach is an organ. Then the small intestine, large intestine, all together belong to the same GIT. Then the esophagus belongs to this. The anal canal belongs to this. So many organs, when many organs come together, then they form something called a system. So this is called as the gastrointestinal system, GIS, or it is also called as gastrointestinal tract, GIT. Okay, so this is the same system. Like cardiovascular, the second example is the cardiovascular system, where The cardia, the heart itself is an organ. Then there are blood vessels, which are also part of the same cardiovascular system. So they are different organs. So they all come together, okay, to form the cardiovascular system. Then similarly, the urinary system, where we have the kidneys, then the ureters, the bladder, the urethra, all these organs come together to form the urinary system. So when more than two organs come together, then they form the system. Okay. Then the human body is composed of different systems. So then finally the whole human body is made up of many systems. As I gave the example, the respiratory system, the cardiovascular system, then the urinary system. There are so many systems in our human body. All they together, they act as a single structure. It is called a human body, composed of different systems which work together in harmony for the orchestrated function to form easy going, as well as the in harmony without any differentiation, any separation. Okay, they work together. Okay, so that is called as the human body. So once again I repeat, the smallest structure is the cell. When many cells come together, then it forms the tissue. When many tissues come together, they form the organ. When many organs come together, they form the system. When many systems all work together in the human body. So these are the different stages of the human body formation. Okay. Now going to all the systems in the body. How many systems are there? Around there are 11 to 12 systems are there. So the first one is called as the integumentary system. This is the skin, which involves the skin, the hair, the sweat glands, all will come under this. This is called as the integumentary system. So this is said to be the largest organ in the body. The skin is said to be the largest organ in the body. Okay. So with that, with the hair and others, the sebaceous gland, the sweat glands, all together they form one system called as the integumentary system. Then the second is the skeletal system. Many bones, all bones in the body, the skull, the limb, bones of the upper limb, lower limb, then the ribs, the sternum, the backbone, everything come together, they form the skeletal system. Similarly, the muscular system, many muscles come together, the biceps, the triceps, and other all muscles come together to form the muscular system. Then similarly, the nervous system, the brain, as I said, then the spinal cord, the nerves, there are different types of nerves, all together they form the nervous system. We'll study each of these systems later one by one, slowly. So this is just the brief introduction to what are the different systems which are present in the body. Then going to the endocrine system. So endocrine system secretes the hormones, like there is the pituitary gland, then the thyroid gland, the suprarenal gland, the ovaries, the testes, all acts as the endocrine organs. So together they form the endocrine system. Similarly, cardiovascular system, I already told you, cardio means the heart, vascular means the vessels. Together they form one system. Similarly, there is something called as the lymphatic system, which is very helpful for the immune system. Then respiratory system, the lungs and its components all form the respiratory system. Then I told about the digestive system, GIT, GIS, gastrointestinal system, stomach, intestine, everything form the digestive system. Then the urinary system, the kidney, the bladder, ureter, urethra, everything form the urinary system. Then we also have the male and female reproductive system. Like male reproductive system, like the testes, the prostate, seminal vesicle, then the female, the uterus, the ovaries, the cervix, all those all together they form the female reproductive system. So these are some of the systems which are present in the human body. So we'll start slowly one by one and we'll try to study each and every system. Okay. Now before we go proceed to those systems, first we'll study the structure of the cell. You might have studied it before, then but still this is just the revision of whatever you have studied before. Okay. So this is the structure of the cell. This is how the cell looks like. So here you can see this is the nucleus. This is called as the nucleolus. Within that nucleus there is chromatin, chromosomes. Then it has the envelope, nuclear envelope. Then we have the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Then the smooth endoplasmic reticulum here. Then we have the Golgi bodies, mitochondria, then the cell membrane, everything. Together this is called as the cell. Cell, as we said before, are the smallest structural units of all living things. Not only the human body, but all living things are made up of the cells. Even the animals, the plants, the plants have a slightly different type of cell, but it is also made up of cells. Okay, so these are the brief introduction to the cell. Okay, now coming to the common characteristics of a cell, how the cell will be present. So, what are the features of a cell? So, the cells perform the general functions necessary to sustain life. So, the living cell indicates the living life. Okay, so they help in the living, that is to sustain life, for the life. Okay, so what do they do? One is they obtain nutrients and other materials from its surrounding fluids. So they get the nourishment, the food which they need, the nutrition from the surrounding fluids. Then they also dispose of, means remove of waste products. So they eat the nutrition, then they also remove the waste products, and they also maintain their shape and integrity. The cells always maintain their shape. So each type of cell is the liver cells are different from the heart cells. Then the all, as I said, every organ is made up of cells. So but the cells differ in shape, but so they maintain their shape so that you can differentiate between a nervous cell as well as a muscular cell. Okay, so similarly, the kidney cell is different from the liver cell, so that from the intestinal cell, so they differ. So each cell maintain its shape and integrity so that it can be identified whether this belong to the heart cell or it is the liver cell or cell. Okay, so they maintain the shape to get identified. The cells divide, they keep on dividing because as there is life, there are some cells which are dying every time, so there will be new cells are formed. So the new cells are formed by two processes. One is called as mitosis and the meiosis. So what is this mitosis? Mitosis help in the growth and repair of cells, help in the growth and repair of cells. New formed cells are formed. Once the old cells die, the new cells will form and they repair themselves. The second is called as meiosis. This is a special type of division which is taking place only in the male and female gametes, that is the testis and the ovaries. There is a special type of division going on, that is called as meiosis. So, but normally all cells will go mitosis. But in case of the male and female reproductive organs like the testis and ovary, there is a special type of division going on, that is called as meiosis. Now coming to the different parts of the cell. What are the parts of the cell? As we saw, the whole of the cell is covered by a membrane. This is called as the cell membrane. As you saw in this picture, you see. So this whole thing is covered by a membrane. Okay, this is called as the plasma membrane, or it is also called as the cell membrane. Okay, then or the plasma membrane, as I said, cell membrane or plasma membrane. Okay, then inside there is cytoplasm. Cytoplasm. Cytoplasm consists of three structures. One is the cytosol, the fluid which is floating within the cytoplasm, that is called as cytosol. Then there are small organelles. These are called as the organs. Small organs are called as organelles. Like as we saw, the nucleus itself, the mitochondria, rough endoplasmic reticulum, smooth endoplasm. All these are called as organelles. Organelles means small organs. Okay, within the cell. So within the organelles, there are two types, membranous as well as non-membranous. Okay. So the cytosol is the fluid, then the organelles, and also there are small bodies. These are called as the inclusions. Inclusions. So these are present within the cytoplasm. Then inside, deep inside, the main structure is present, which is a very important component of life, that is called as the nucleus, which is usually at the center. Now we'll try to understand this each structure better. The first one is the plasma membrane. Plasma membrane. As we saw, there is covering. This is the cell here. So the covering outside is covered. If you see it very closely, then you see this is how it looks like. This is called as the plasma membrane. Okay. It is composed of phospholipids, cholesterol, as well as the glycolipids. Okay, so we have, it is made up of the phospholipids as well as the cholesterol as well as the glycolipids. If you see here, this is the glycolipid. Then we have the cholesterol here. This is the cholesterol. Then we have the phospholipid. This whole thing is called as the phospholipid bilayer. Here is the one phospholipid lipid, and this is the second phospholipid. Okay, so this is the bilayer, two layer of phospholipids. Inside we have the glycolipids, and within that glycolipid we have small bodies here. These are called as cholesterol. All together, these are called as the lipids, phospholipids, cholesterol, and glycolipid. Together they are called as lipids. So the cell membrane is made up of lipids as well as proteins. The integral membrane protein, the peripheral membrane protein, and the glycoproteins. Okay, so if you see here, these are the integral proteins. Then we have the peripheral proteins. Peripheral protein. So integral protein, membrane protein, peripheral membrane protein, and the glycoproteins. Then we have the glycoproteins here. Okay. So this whole thing, this is called as the glycoprotein. Okay. So this is the integral protein. This is the peripheral protein from outside, and this whole thing, this will be called as the glycoprotein. From here up to this whole thing is the protein. This is the cut section of the same. So here the protein has been shown, and here is this is the carbohydrate. Together this is called as the glycoprotein. So these are the three components of the proteins. So lipids has three components: phospholipid, cholesterol, and glycolipids. Protein has integral membrane protein, peripheral membrane protein, as well as the glycoprotein. The membrane proteins carry out the following functions. Why there is a membrane? Okay, what is the importance? One is it helps in the immunological identity. Each cell has a special protein or the special membrane with which it can be easily identified, especially for immunological purpose. Second is it acts as a receptor. The plasma membrane itself acts as a receptor. Some are enzymes, some have enzymes, and they help in the transportation. If you see here, so the structures can pass through them. Specific structures can pass through them. Okay, so they allow the selective transportation. Okay, so this is the importance of the plasma membrane. Then we have very important bodies. These are called as the mitochondria. Mitochondria. These are said to be the powerhouse of the cell. So these are the main energy producing cells, not the cells, the organelles. Okay. So these are the powerhouse of the cell. They are called as the energy producing organelles within the cell, powerhouse, which gives the energy to the cell in the form of ATPs. They produce synthesized ATPs, okay, which gives the energy. If you see the structure, it looks like a rod like with the double membrane. If you see here, there is an outer membrane which is almost oval, and then inside we have this folded membrane. So this is the inner membrane and outer membrane. So it is double membrane structure. Okay, so that is the mitochondria. Then we have ribosomes, very small bodies called as ribosomes. The structure, dense particles consisting of two subunits. If you see here, this is how they look like. Ribosome with two subunits. Function, they are the sites of protein synthesis. They help in the protein synthesis. We'll see them. Okay. So if you see here now, you can see the small bodies, many bodies which are around. Okay, these are called as the ribosomes. Okay, these are around the rough endoplasmic reticulum. This is called as the rough endoplasmic reticulum. The membranous system is the folded membrane enclosing a cavity. The system inside there is a space called a system, covered externally by the ribosome. These are the ribosomes. This is a folded membrane. This is the membranous structure, folded membrane with a cavity inside, and outside we have the full of ribosomes. This is called as the rough endoplasmic reticulum. What is the function? They help in the modification of the synthesized protein. The function of the ribosome is synthesis of proteins. Synthesis of proteins. Then the function of the rough endoplasmic reticulum is modification of the synthesized protein. The proteins which are already produced, they are modified by the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Then there is also something called a similar membrane like this without ribosome. This is called a smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Smooth endoplasmic reticulum, but there are no the ribosomes. So this is how we can identify. This is smooth, so without ribosomes. So that's why it is called as smooth. This membranous system of the sacs and tubules, same sacs and tubules will be there, but free of ribosomes. There are no ribosomes. So this is called as the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. What is the function of this smooth endoplasmic reticulum? This is the site of lipid synthesis and drug detoxification. Lipid synthesis. Here it was protein synthesis. The function of the ribosome of protein synthesis. The function of the rough endoplasmic reticulum is the modification of the synthesized protein. Now here it is the synthesis of the lipids. So this is the site of lipid synthesis, and also it helps in the drug detoxification. Any drug which can be injurious to the body, it is detoxified, means detoxin is removed from them through the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Then there are very small bodies around this rough endoplasmic reticulum. These small bodies, these are called as the Golgi apparatus. A sac of flattened membrane is close to the nucleus. They are usually very close to the nucleus. So these sacs of folded membrane close to a nucleus, this is called as Golgi apparatus. What is the function? They help in the modification and segregation of proteins. See, there are so many structures which are acting on the protein. The ribosome produce the proteins. The rough endoplasmic reticulum modify the synthesized proteins. Now, the Golgi apparatus help in the segregation of proteins, not only modification but also segregation. Segregation means separation of proteins. Different proteins are separated uh, equally among them. Okay. Finally, we come across the lysosomes, very small bodies called as lysosomes. They are membranous sacs containing acid hydrolase, powerful digestive system. These are the digestive system within the cells. So they have acid which can easily digest, help in the intra. The function is the intracellular digestion. So any foreign bodies, foreign particles enter, bacteria, anything enters the cell. So these will go and release a chemical called as the acid hydrolase, which will help in the intracellular digestion. It will kill the bacteria or the foreign particle, and it will digest within. Okay. So finally, the most important structure, that is the nucleus and its covering. So the nucleus is at the center, the largest, or this is the nucleus will be usually the largest organelle, surrounded by nuclear envelope. So it is covered by an envelope called a nuclear envelope. If you see here, this nuclear envelope. Okay, so it is surrounded by nuclear envelope, contains fluid within inside that. This is called as the nucleoplasm. Nucleoplasm. And small bodies here, these are called as nucleolus. When it is one, it is called a nucleolus. When they are more, then it's called a nucleoli. And within them there is chromosome. Those are called as chromatin. Chromatin. Okay. So this is the structure of the nucleus. What is the function of the nucleus? This is the control center of the cell. This is the brain of the cell. So this nucleus will be the brain of the cell. Going back to this picture, if you see here, so here is the nucleus. This is the nucleus, whole thing. Okay, this is the cell. So here this is the endoplasmic reticulum, this is the Golgi apparatus. These are the mitochondria, smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and here is the nucleus. Nuclear envelope, and this is the nucleolus and chromatin side. So nucleus is the largest organelle and it is the brain of the cell. So it is the brain of the cell, very important structure. It acts as the control center of the cell. Then the covering around the nucleus is called as the nuclear envelope. This is also double membrane structure. So this is a double membrane structure pierced by pores. It has a lot of pores which help in the exchange of material. Sometimes there is exchange of material between the cytoplasm and the nucleoplasm. So this helps in the selective permeability. If you see here, there is small pores through which some structure will go inside and come out. Okay, so double membrane structure pierced by pores. What is the function? Separate the nucleoplasm from the cytoplasm. This is the function. So the cytoplasm is outside and the nucleoplasm inside. So it will separate the two. So that is the function of the nuclear envelope. Now finally, the last slide which will deal with all whatever we studied till now. Okay, so coming to the levels of organization of the human body. As we study, we started with the cellular level. But if you want to see, there are smaller structures, more smaller than the cell. These are called as atoms. So these are the chemical level, not at the cellular level, but chemical level. There are very tiny structures called as atoms combine to form the molecules. Molecules together form the cells. The cells are made up of the molecules. So many molecules join together to form the cell. When many cells come together, then it forms the tissue. Tissue consisting of similar types of cells with similar structure and function, then they form the tissue. When many tissue come together, then they form the organ. Organ are made up of different types of tissue. When many organs come together, then they form the organ system. So the organ system consists of different organs that work together closely. Okay. Then many organs together it forms the organism level. That is, the human organism is made up of the many organ systems. Okay. So this is how the human body is formed. So for the first the chemical level, atoms, cellular level, many atoms come together to form the cells. Many cells come together to form the tissue level. Then the organ level, when many tissues come together, then it forms the organ level. When many organs come together, then it comes to the organ system. When many organ system come together, then it forms the organism level. Okay, that is the human body is formed with many organ systems. So this is how the human body is formed briefly. So this is the basic structure. In the future classes, we will take up each system and we are the organs as well as the systems, and we will try to study them and understand them inshallah clearly as well as thoroughly. So this is the brief introduction to this lecture called as the introduction to the human body or the cells itself. So if you have any doubts regarding this lecture, you can ask me now. Do you have any doubts, questions?
No,
Clear.
thank you, doctor.
My goodness.
Everything is clear?
Yes.
Doctor.
Okay, let me take your attendance and then you can leave. Just wait. All of you are there, four of you. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. If you have any doubts anytime, you can ask me. Okay. So the next lecture will be on Tuesday from 7 to 8 p.m. Okay.